Hi, I'm Katrina, and this is Sow and Tare. Today I am redoing my video for parting out a rabbit in anticipation of cooking on the dashboard. That's a separate playlist. Go over there for that. We're going to learn how to part up a rabbit. So here is a rabbit. It's already, this is a pretty young one. I did process these before this is one of the ones I processed before I left my old place, and so I needed to process early, but same things are going to apply. So this is a rabbit. It's thawed, it's rinsed, it's ready to be cooked, and in this case parted out. When I package them, and I'll put a link here so you can see how I package them for the freezer, I actually pull off the fat and use that in a different way. So what this is here is the neck, here's the front arms, front legs, back legs, and then the back and these belly flaps. Now, these belly flaps are the only thing that's different about the rabbit meat. So rabbit meat is a white meat and it's like a chicken breast. If you mix it into stuff, have some sauce on it, you can probably, like, people will eat it, they probably won't even know what they're eating. If you're enhancing the flavor of the rabbit, then that's, you know, you can tell what you're eating, or if you know what you're doing. But for those that haven't had rabbit meat, it is very similar to chicken. Not the same, but similar. There are many reasons why you would want to part out a rabbit. One, make it smaller. Two, make things more packaged together so that they cook all the same. So this leg is much thicker than this leg. You can do like chicken wing type stuff with this leg, and this would be more like traditional for like a chicken thigh. The flaps, the ab flaps, these are just like our abs. So they have muscles that go this way and muscles that go this way. So this can be the toughest part of the rabbit. This belly flap, because it has the muscles that go both ways, when you cut into a muscle after it's been cooked, you are supposed to cut it across the grain of the muscle. The reason for that is when you cut it across the grain, here's the muscle, the grains are going in this direction. When you cut it right here across the grain, what it does is it bounces back and it bunches up and it holds that moisture. If you cut it this way, it just separates and nothing happens to like the moisture and the tenderization of that muscle. So that's someone can probably explain it better than me, but that's my understanding of what happens and why you would cut against the grain. It is very difficult to do that when part of it goes this way and part of it goes this way. So you could take the time and try and separate those muscles. Good luck. What I recommend is when you part out your rabbit, you set those aside and you use them in a different way. So I've steamed them. That turns out really well. If you marinate them, that turns out better than if you don't. I'm not saying they're tough. I'm just saying they are more tough than the rest of the rabbit, and that's the reason why. So at least we know the reason, and it's not actually tough. But you can use, skewers in barbecue, marinate it for a few days, put it on a skewer, barbecue it. You can do slow roast, you can do all sorts of stuff. But realize that part specifically, for two reasons you want to set aside apart from the rest of them. One is the way it cooks, and then two is it's just skinnier than the rest of the meat. So it's skinnier than the rest of the meat, it's going to cook differently, and the way the muscles come together, it's going to cook differently. So there's your intro. I'm going to get into actually cutting the rabbit, and we are going to get into it. Alright, so I start with the back legs. You're going to find hair. Just keep on picking it off. I start with the back legs, and what I do for that is I go like this and press open so that pops these two joints out of joint. So turn around, and I started recording this before it was recording. So this is the line you want to cut. You can feel for where the hip is. There's the hip joint right there, and you cut right below it. So I just did a single cut here, going down and around. Okay, you see that's cut, and cut a little more right there. And you can cut the rest from this side. Continuing down from here. Sorry, I'm at a very awkward angle showing you guys this. And down. So here's where you want to find the actual hip joint that you just popped. Okay, so right there is the joint. You can see there is the socket. The ball is going to be on this side, and you can just pop it even more if you want, and that's going to be where you cut. So you don't want to cut through bone, you want to cut next to bone. So I can move this. I can feel the ball is right here and the socket's right here. So I want to cut in between the two. Okay? Might be hard to find for the first time, might be hard to find for the 20th time. But we do not want to cut through the bone because we like our knives sharp, right? So there we go. I just opened it up. There's the ball, there's a joint, or the socket. There's the ball, there's a joint, or the socket. Okay? So we can just do that very smoothly. I am getting bone. There we go. So, if you want to, you can finish off on this side or the other side. It does not make a difference. And there we go. So, alright, so that is the ball joint that we were talking about, and here is the socket. So we're going to do the same thing on this side. This side is ready to go, and this is a smaller rabbit. I did process it early. The back legs on most of what I process is going to be bigger than this. But turn on its tummy, find, we have some connective tissue, find this line right here. Okay, so we're finding the hip bone's right here. We're going to cut below the hip bone. And I'm going to move you guys over. This is so awkward. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so here's the hip bone. We're going to cut below the hip bone. It helps if you have a sharp knife and cut like that. Okay, so there's our cut. I'm going to flip it over. Find where our cut is on the back side and continue it. Oh, how do I do this? We're gonna hug you guys while I do this. All right, so we're cutting down opposite that same cut, and we're coming in between the ball and the socket. Okay. If you need to go back here and cut deeper, you can cut deeper. It should be pretty easy. And then cutting through that right in between. See, that one was much smoother than the other one. And all the way down here. So there's our second back leg. Ball socket, ball socket. Okay, so we have our back legs. I haven't parted these out in a long time. Next up is the front arms. The front arms really aren't connected to much. And if you see, I'll put a link here to the shape of bones. It's cutting off the bones, which I'm not going to do today. But there's the ankle, elbow, shoulder. This is the shoulder blade. So you can pull it up, you can see that shape right there. So that shape right there is a shoulder blade. What I do is I cut down the sternum because this muscle will go with this. You can do it a different way if you like. This is how I do it though, is I cut down, this is the belly, this is the belly, this is the chest. So I'm just gonna cut through that muscle right there. And that will be my start. So that will pull up. You can see how it separates. all that connective tissue, right? And there you go. So this flap I keep with it. So it's not the same as the belly flap. This is, it starts with S, I don't remember what it is, but this is this whole muscle here. And I cut it with this just because it separates nicely, and that's why. So I'm basically going along, here's the ribs, I'm going along the top of the ribs, along that, and you can see where it goes over here. You don't have to do the whole thing, you don't have to do any of it, but I just do that, go all the way to the back. Okay, and we're on top of that back muscle. You can even see the knife, how thin this muscle is. Go up to the spine and cut up, and there you go. So it's not really connected to much. We didn't have a ball and joint or anything like that. And here's some old fat. This one got yellow fat. Now, up by the neck, because I do cervical dislocation, you are going to have some areas that have bruising. I cut that off, you know, feed it to the chickens. But now we have the leg. So again, here's the ankle, the knee, shoulder, sorry, ankle, knee, shoulder, and then this right here is the shoulder bone. And then we have this flap. What I do when I cook it is I just tuck it under and cook it. So, pretty simple. Let's do the other side. Okay, so it's already cut down the sternum, but it's not on the other side because it's there's a weird connective tissue there, so you can just cut there. Sharp knives are nice. Okay. Connective tissue. Connective tissue, more connective tissue. Okay. And we're going to follow this muscle down. A little difficult with the camera. That's okay. All right. Now we go all the way up to, that's the backbone right there. So we're just going to take it all the way up. All the way up. That backbone. And all the way through. So, like I said, this bruising up here, I just cut it off. You can add it to your bone broth or your stock, whatever. You can feed it to your chickens or whatever you want. And then this just gets tucked under, and there you go. So now we're left with the body. We have the tail right here. This is the sacrum area, sacral area. Here's the hip joints. Here's the hips. This is the back. This is where the ribs start, and then the neck. So what I'm going to do now is I'll take the belly flaps off, and it doesn't really matter which way you start. The thing to keep in mind is where these ribs are. So those ribs are right there. You're going to cut along the rib. And if you lift it up, it'll pretty much just cut exactly where you need to do. See how smooth it cut against that muscle? And there we go. So we have this belly flap now ready to be set aside. Let's do this one. I do this a little faster when it's not being filmed because this is not the ideal angle of my hands. So right here, I just cut past the rib. So I cut up to here, but the rib ends right here. So we're going to actually back up here and go along the rib. And there we go. There is our belly flap. Now, a lot of people, what they'll do here is they will just cut it right here. I don't. I actually cut this meat with this meat. And I wanted to show you, this is the diaphragm. So, in case you're wondering what that flap is, that's the diaphragm. As you breathe through the diaphragm, this separates the two cavities. So, I'm going to put it on its belly now, and I actually start at the neck and go down. The spine of the rabbit is a little weird, and so it, you're just gonna have to see it. But there is a ridge, and then there's like a dip and another ridge. So you want to cut along that top ridge. And you can do that all the way down. Okay? And what that will do is it will open it up. I don't think I got through the connective tissue here. There you go. Yeah, this connective tissue is tougher down here, so let's cut that. There we go. All right. So this is the primary ridge of the spine. There's a secondary ridge right here, and so you can cut to the side of that. And then down here is a hip bone. So that right there is the hip bone, from there to there. So we want to go on top of the hip bone and cut down. So we can separate out this part right here. Okay. There we go. All right, back up to the top. I'm going to cut down this way from the top, and this is just getting it started. So this is completely cut from the spine there, and what I want to do is kind of lift it and cut along the ribs. And I haven't done this in a while, so I might not be getting the whole muscle, but that's okay. You guys can get the feeling. Okay, I'm actually going to cut from this direction. There we go. So I'm leaving a little bit there. That's not ideal, but it is what it is. So I'm feeling again for the bottom rib. This is not the bottom rib. This is the bottom rib right here. So little cut, and we will make those meet. There's your loin. So that's a lot of muscle. If you cut right here instead of getting this, you miss out on all that meat right there. Now, if you're cooking this, I recommend you just pull off this connective tissue, because it is a little harder right there. And then you have your nice piece of meat. So I did leave behind a little bit, and we can get that back. It's okay. We can get that back. Well, I'll get it later. Anyway, next muscle is right here. There's two muscles on the belly. It's kind of two on this side, two on this side, but it's okay. Anyway, so I'm gonna do this other one first. So this is the same muscle that we just cut out right here, right there. And then you have two smaller muscles. So well, no, let me get this one out. So you have a little ridge here, a bone right here. So we have the spine. There's another ridge, and then there's another little thing here, and that separates this belly muscle. It's the interior muscle there, and that muscle pulls out really nicely all by itself. Looks like that one has a little bit of bloody. Whoops. All right, so now neck. This is a neck, but start up here again. Get that back muscle. And I'm trying to do this so you can see what I'm doing, hopefully. I'll just put it through and do this. Okay. Just because of the camera angle here. So I am cutting through that connective tissue. And guys, you can use your knife either way. I know usually it's this direction, but sometimes with that connective tissue, I'm okay with going that way. Alright, so we're going down to the hip here. Okay, so there's this hip. This hip starts up here, go up and around and down. So you can see that that's the hip right there. All right. And all right. There we go. There's our muscle. And again, we're going to peel off that connective tissue. Oops, I just ripped the muscle. Because this connective tissue is quite tough. Well, that one doesn't come out. I want to come off. I'll work on that later. Anyway, for the most part, it comes off pretty easy. Now, what you're left with, yeah, we did miss some meat here. We did miss a lot of meat here because my angles are a little off. Because of the camera angle. But let's get this guy out. And you can see there's quite a bit more meat on there. You can pick at this if you want. Hey, you can make ribs if you want. These are little tiny ribs. What I do to this is I put it in the pressure cooker, and you can pick off the rest of this that way. I'll put a link to that video in the corner if I have enough links. Or you can just put this in the freezer and make it into your broth, and that'll give your broth a really, really, really good flavor. And nutrients. So up to you what you do with this. There you go. So we have our stock bones or whatever else you want to call it. We have our belly innards. We have our back. We have our belly flaps, front legs, and back legs, and that is our rabbit. Now this is a smaller rabbit, like I said before, but this will work. We're going to be cooking this in the next video, or in one of these videos. Well, I just did this real time and forgot to press record, but anyway, there's our second rabbit. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this helped you visualize parting out a rabbit and that you're able to do that and have a fun party pack of chicken wing rabbit legs in the freezer or something like that. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, like the video, share it around, and thank you for watching. We have lots of rabbit stuff on this channel, so keep on watching. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.